Okay, this is going to be my updated tier list for Monster Hunter Wilds. I did one that was out in the beta. Definitely some things that I was wrong about from the beta, obviously, because it wasn't finalized. Not a lot of people realize that, though, I think. We're going to be going over this tier list. It's going to mostly be based around the kill times that I've been able to find, the fastest kill times of Tempered Arkveld, um, from since it's released, right? Now, a couple of disclaimers though about this is that I'm not going to base it purely off of the speedrunning times because the majority of people don't speedrun, right? So I'm going to factor in a few things that are going to be able to boost or bring the weapon down, in my opinion. The main thing that I'm going to factor in is my opinion on how easy the weapon is. So if a weapon has a really good kill time, but I think that it's really difficult, right, in my opinion, it might be brought down a tier, right? If a weapon has a slower or a mid range kill time, but it's very easy, I think that probably goes up a little bit, right? Because this is not a speed running tier list. It'll be a tier list based around speed running times, but it's also going as kind of like a baseline, but it's going to factor in ease of use as well as what I think it brings to co-op. So, the very first weapon that we have here is light bowgun. Now, whenever I came from the beta, I had light bowgun in the lowest tier. I think light bowgun right now is pretty good, right? Um, I would say that based on its kill time, it's pretty average, right? Like it's directly in the middle. I'd say I'm pretty sure it is the most average weapon. I think it's directly in the middle for kill times. But I think that light bowgun is fairly easy. Now, I'm not ready to say that I think light bowgun is an A tier weapon. I'm gonna leave it in B, but I could see the case for you making it saying it's an A tier weapon. But since this is the first weapon, I'm not ready to make a jump like that. Okay. Now we have Charge Blade. Charge Blade has the fastest kill times currently in the game. Elemental Charge Blade, but it's also probably the hardest weapon in the game. There's so much. You have perfect guards, you have guard points, you have sword and shield mode versus axe mode. You have two different playstyles that kind of conflict with each other with SAED and Savage Axe mode. Um, but I think that Charge Blade is so good currently that I don't feel right bringing it down to A. I don't feel right putting anything above Charge Blade because it is so good, right? So I'm going to keep Charge Blade in S, and not bring it down to A. Now we have Gun Lance. Gun Lance is a S tier weapon for me. Um, I think it currently has one of the highest kill times among all weapons. I wouldn't say I think Gun Lance is deceptively not difficult, but you really have to play it, perfect. There's a lot of theory crafting. The good thing about Gunlance is that there's a lot of theory crafting around Gunlance, and there's a really dedicated fan base, and they've really come up with the perfect way to play it. And I think that actually helps its case in the tier list because there's so much information around it. Whereas there's some weapons that don't have such a dedicated fan base, and I think that having that dedicated fan base around a weapon that you might play really helps the odds that you're able to maximize the output of that weapon. I'd obviously say that Gunlance is, I wouldn't say Gunlance is easy. It's nowhere near as hard as Charge Blade, obviously. So, in my opinion, I'm going to keep Gunlance at S tier. I think it brings a lot to. I think it's really good in co-op, right? It can be like your main counter, or your like perfect guard guy. It breaks parts super easy. It does a ton of damage really fast. The combos are super figured out with a lot of data behind them, and I think that it just makes it really good. Now, Sword and Shield is the weapon that I play, um, and I would say that it's one of those things where the current Sword and Shield, its kill times are below average from what I can see. Um, they're like mid to below average, I think. There's obviously some people that are going to be able to take this weapon and do a lot better with it than other people. That's why it's kind of the jack of all trades. You know, it's the most versatile weapon. One of the things that's about Sword and Shield currently is that it's super reliant on guard points. If you're not good at guard points, it's a lot less efficient to dodge or to slide out of the way instead of guard pointing. So if you can't get the guard points down, then you're going to have a much harder time killing bosses very fast. The playstyle currently is not a lot of people's favorite with Sword and Shield either. With the Corrupted Mantle, and you're basically doing just basic chops. There's no perfect rush. When you're in, when you're in Corrupted Mantle, you really don't want to have to do charge chops or anything like that. When you're out of Corrupted Mantle, obviously, charge chop is still the ideal way to play Sword and Shield. But I think that I'm going to probably just leave it in C. I might come back to it. It might go up, but I think I'll leave it in C for now. Next up, we have the Great Sword. Now, I think that the Great Sword could be either. I think it's probably a little bit higher than. I think that Great Sword is probably high B, and let me play devil advocate for why I think that. I think it is the perfect beginner weapon, right? I think it is the weapon that the majority of people start out playing Monster Hunter with in general. And I just think that it's the great equalizer when it comes to weapons, right? You base a lot of weapons off of how Great Sword performs, within the game. And I think it's just a great baseline. I think it's a great median weapon to have in the B tier. It doesn't have, it's not super overperforming when it comes to kill times. It's not insane when it comes to utility. Obviously, it has the biggest hit in the game, like single hit in the game. So it's really good for like when a monster is knocked out, when it's sleeping, when you're doing co-op. It's obviously good at cutting tails and stuff like that, but it obviously has a very unique play style. It can guard and it can offset attack. I think it's a great B tier weapon in my opinion. But I might change it. I might bring that up. Now we have Insect Glaive. I think Insect Glaive as having the second highest kill times in the game currently. I think I'm going to put it at S as well. Typically, I think it's a little bit more of a difficult weapon than others. But I think with the current playstyle, it's not as difficult because of the way that Corrupted Mantle plays. But I think as the second fastest weapon that I've been able to find on average, I think it deserves an S spot. If we're going to put Gun Lance in there, it really doesn't really offer that much when it comes to co-op, from what I know. But I think I'm going to give it S. I think it's probably the last S weapon in my opinion. It's really the last one that stands above the rest, right? Like these three stand so far above the rest when it comes to kill times that I think these three kind of deserve their own spot. So now we're going to Lance. I think that Lance is probably low B, or high C. I think it probably starts out high C or low B, but I think I'm going to keep it in B because of what it can do in a co-op environment, right? Like it is the stalwart weapon of the game, right? Like it is the one it doesn't care about anything. It's going to block everything. It's going to stand there. It's going to let the monster hit it. It's going to get the counterattacks, and it's just going to be a beast for your co-op team. It has decent kill times. They're not the best, obviously. They're better than Sword and Shield, but they are, I think, slightly worse than Light Bowgun. So I think it's gonna be a decent B tier weapon in my opinion. It is rather easy as well, right? So I'm not going to put it in C. If I were going to put it in C, I think I'd bring it back up to B just based on ease of use. Um, okay, heavy bowgun. I'm gonna put heavy bowgun in A. I think that it's got faster clear times from what I've seen than light bowgun, but slower clear times than greatsword. But I think that heavy bowgun brings a little bit more. I think it's a little bit easier than greatsword. So I think that I think putting it in A feels fine in my opinion, but I'm not really ready to say it's definitely not S. I can see the argument for B versus A. I really can, but I'm leaning A on that. Because of the ease of use, just the play style of it currently, it's really not super complicated. Your positioning really matters, and whatnot. But I think that the from everything that I've seen, I think it feels more A than B when it comes to this. Dual blades again. I think I'm leaning C on dual blades. Now it is one of the easier weapons, okay, but relying so much on dodges and your stamina, I think brings it down for me. Right, it doesn't have you know the perfect guards that lance and gun lance have. It doesn't have the offset attacks. Um, it's super just reliant on your ability to position perfectly and know what you can iframe and can't iframe. And so I think that brings it down a little bit. So while the combos are pretty easy to use, it's gonna stay in C for me because of that. I do think though that it has the best focus strike in the game. I think it has the coolest looking focus strike in the game, and I could bring it up to B just because of that. But you know, I'm not going to. I'm gonna keep it in C. Now, bow's a certified A weapon. Okay, I can see the argument for S. I really can. I'm not going to do it because I think the kill times for bow versus gun lance is kind of the bottom tier of S for me. As far as kill times go, from what I've seen right now, there's probably some Japanese kill times that I just haven't seen. But from what I can see, bow is probably 20 seconds slower than gun lance, and gun lance being the slowest of the S tier is only about 5 to 10 seconds slower than charge blade. So I'm going to say that bow is A tier. It's above heavy bowgun for me. One of the things that I don't like about bow. Okay, so just based on kill times, right? Now I could see it going to S based on the ease, right? It's a rather easy weapon, especially the current playstyle of mostly playing Dragon Piercer. Like against Arkveld, you're basically only doing Dragon Piercer against Arkveld. So it's pretty, there's not a lot going on with it, right? Um, and in a co-op scenario, you bring so much utility with all of your you can sleep the monster, you can paralysis the monster, you can do whatever, right? You have so much utility when it comes to coding and stuff like that. I could see it going to S just based on that, but I'm happy with these being the S tier weapons. I think that they are a step above kind of everything else, so I'm going to keep a bow in A. But I wouldn't be mad. But if somebody strongly feels that it should be S, I agree. But I'm just going to keep it an A because that's where I lean a little bit more towards for the reasons given. Longsword, I think longsword is the most average it's ever been. Like there probably are some I'm sure like Peppo has some super fast clear times and stuff like that, but I think it's pretty average. I just don't see a ton of longsword users currently in in the game. I just don't see them. I could see the argument for S, or I mean for C, but I think I'm gonna go B, just based on the fact that it is the kind of the most popular weapon, historically the most popular weapon. Um, It has really good counters still. It is really reliant on its counters. Um, but I do think the current iteration of Longsword with Corrupted Mantle, and you're just basically spamming your kind of basic combo, and it's rather easy. I think I'm just gonna keep it at B for that. I'm not a longsword player, so if the longsword players are mad about that, I understand, but I think it's pretty average of a weapon currently. It's as average as it's ever been in my opinion. I don't, from what I've seen. Now there might be some kill times that I've missed and I haven't seen them, but I think longsword is getting similar kill times to sword and shield and dual blades on average. So that's why I'm going to keep it there. Switch axe. Switch axe is interesting because I think switch axe could be an A tier weapon. I think switch axe probably is an A tier weapon. Um, Based on kill times, I could see making the argument that it is difficult enough to drop it down to B, but I don't think it actually is. It obviously is a harder weapon, right? Because you have to master two different forms, but I don't think it's hard enough that it would drop it down a tier. So I think I'm gonna keep Switch Axe in A. Switch Axe has similar kill times to Bow, but I don't think it brings as much utility as Bow, and I don't think it's as easy as Bow. So I think I'm happy with it being an A just based off of kill times on that one. Now Hammer and Hunting Horn. Hammer and Hunting Horn have by far the slowest kill times. So I'm gonna put them in D for the moment, right? And I'm gonna talk about each of them. I'm going to put Hammer in C because it's it's very basic. It's very basic and easy has very basic and easy combos to use, but it doesn't have many defensive options, right? Like there's not much going on defensively, and you have to really rely on good positioning, right? So it is difficult in that sense. So I will give it that, right? Um and the utility that it brings to a co-op situation the ability to combo so well or to KO so well. um I'm going to probably I'm going to keep it in C, but I think that the kill times are so detrimental to its power within the hierarchy of all of the weapons that I don't think that I could truly bring it up to B just based off of the KO, utility of being able to KO monsters and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing with Hunting Horn. I'm going to keep Hunting Horn in C just purely based on the fact of how much utility that it brings to a group. Obviously, it has the slowest kill times on average among speedrunners. It's not a speedrunning weapon, go figure. Um, but and so as a baseline, actually no, because since it isn't a speedrunning weapon, it's not meant to the speedrun. I'm going to have to give this one exception for Hunting Horn, and I'm going to give Hunting Horn a B. I you know I'm sure there are people that will want Hunting Horn in A and C, but this is not purely based off of co-op. And when you're not in co-op, it's just there. I don't see a reason to be a Hunting Horn main unless you just really enjoy the weapon. If you're playing solo, if you're playing co-op, if this was a co-op situation, it's an S tier weapon. It's probably the best weapon in the game if you're in co-op. But I'm gonna give it B, and the reason I'm going to give it B is because it's not really meant to be a fast killing weapon, right? So giving it the baseline of the speed kills doesn't really seem fair for this one weapon. That's why I'm not going to give it. That's why I'm not going to change hammer to B, because it is a damage dealing weapon, right? Obviously, you can deal tons of damage with Hunting Horn that has very fast kill times, but in my opinion, it's just not really. It's not what the weapon is meant for, right? It's meant to be a supportive weapon. So that's what I'm going to give it. this is probably what I think. This is the tier list that I'm going to go with. Now obviously there are going to be mad people in the comments, and that's understandable. You can be mad. At the end of the day, the tier list doesn't matter, right? Just a disclaimer, like you can play whatever you want and get sub 5 minute, sub 5 minute, sub 4 minute weapon kill or tempered arc filled kills. That's all of these weapons have sub 5 minute tempered arc filled kills, right? So the weapon doesn't really matter. Like if you want to become the best in the world at your weapon because you're so passionate about playing it, go play that weapon, go have fun with it. The majority of people don't ever even try to speedrun or anything like that. So like the baseline of this tier list doesn't matter to the majority of people. But if you want to know what the best times are for these weapons and kind of put it on a tier list and have them shimmy around a little bit based on my opinion on what they bring to groups and my opinion on if they're easy or not, then this is the tier list that I'm going with. Now, you don't have to listen to me. My opinion doesn't matter in the end. Um, so just remember that, right? If you want to be mad, you can leave a comment and be mad about it. That's fine. It doesn't matter to me. But this is the tier list that I think that we currently have in the game. These are the S's I think are the best weapons in the game. I think A are equally as good, but maybe just a little bit less power. And then I think B and C are, I think all the B weapons are pretty average. I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you'll even complain. And I think C, again, I think they're just a little lackluster in a couple of ways. And that's really it. That's my uploaded tier list. About, I don't know, a week and a half after release or so, or 2 weeks, however long it's been. But if you liked the video and you liked or disliked the tier list, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And I'm live every single day at twitch.tv/GlitzXO. Later.